Thanks for stopping by the Spiritual Teamwork Podcast. Let me start at the beginning. My beginning for this podcast. So over 25 years ago, I was a young guy who was going to church. And I was on fire. I wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to understand everything I could about God and religion. Think about that for a second. I wanted to understand God. That's what I thought spirituality was about, understanding God. So I started a men's group. It was on Friday nights. There were 10 guys. We met once a month and we read books together. And one of the early books that we read was Celebration of Discipline by Richard Foster. That book literally changed the course of my life. Foster lays out 12 spiritual disciplines. He talks about the inward ones: meditation, prayer, fasting, study. He talks about the outward ones: simplicity, solitude, submission, and service. And corporate disciplines of confession, worship, guidance, and celebration. And he calls these disciplines the door to liberation. That book is the reason that this podcast exists today, and that's not hyperbole. This isn't my first attempt at a podcast either. This is version 3 or 4. I started a podcast 7 or 8 years ago called Spiritual Teamwork. I'd just become Eastern Orthodox. I was on fire for that too, but it didn't feel right. The second was when I got certified as a life coach. I needed to drum up business, so I started a podcast for that. The third was trying to combine spirituality and addiction recovery. And that was closer to me, but it wasn't quite it. Oh, and by the way, I'm in long-term recovery. That's not a footnote. It's part of who I am, and it's what I talk about. Spirituality and addiction recovery are my 2 favorite subjects other than my wife and kids, and we're not going to talk about those on this podcast. So here's where I'm coming from. I believe that there is a God. I believe that there is a golden thread that runs through all the world's major religions. I don't believe they're all the same. I don't believe they all teach the same. But I believe that God has shown up for people all over the world in different ways and in different forms. On this podcast, I'm going to draw from Christianity because that's what I know the most. But I'm also going to draw from Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism and Islam and Judaism. There's going to be Jungian psychology, shadow work, DBT, CBT, because all of it's useful and all of it has something to offer. What I'm not going to do is try to build a theology or try to convince you of anything. I'm just going to walk through spirituality as I see it. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be personal about it. And it's going to be messy because that's who I am. But I think that's the point. Spirituality is messy. It's not straightforward and cut and dry. That's why there's so many of them. So I want to say thanks. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this introduction. If this does sound like something you want to listen to, please subscribe, leave a review. Please share it with someone who you think may need it or who's been asking the same questions as you have. I'm Stephen, and this is Spiritual Teamwork, and I hope to talk to you in the future.